Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to talk to you about shutter speed, starting with what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how you can use it. Even though at a glance it looks confusing and it looks pretty hard, it's not that bad, so let's get straight into it. What you just saw was the shutter. When you take a picture, your shutter opens up and lets your camera sensors see the light. Shutter speed is how long your sensor sees that light for. And depending on how long that is, your pictures either be bright or dark. If you allow light to hit the camera sensor for a longer time, you'll get brighter pictures. That makes sense, right? The shutter opens longer and the sensor has more time to see. There's just more light in general. However, on the opposite end, if your shutter speed is faster, you'll get darker pictures because your sensor has less time to see light. So I spent a lot of time talking about fast and slow shutter speeds, but I haven't said anything about how you measure them yet, so here it is. Shutter speeds are all measured in seconds, but most of the ones you'll see will be measured in fractions of a second. Some cameras will show the actual fraction, like 1/60, while others will just show the denominator, which is 60. But rest assured, both of these mean the same thing. It's 1/60th of a second. However, when you see double primes next to the numbers, that means it's recording in full seconds. Double primes look like quotation marks. So if you see something that looks like a quotation mark behind the number, again, that's in full seconds. So we talked a lot about shutter speeds, how they're measured and what they do, but let's go see what actually happens when you take pictures. I'm gonna be taking a picture of this scene, but it's a little messy right now, so I'm gonna go clean it up real quick. I actually needed the camera, but I tossed it over there, so I'm gonna go grab it real quick. Alright, now we start taking pictures. While seconds are pretty easy to understand, shutter speed also comes in two other settings, called time and bulb. Hey, what the hell, man? Time and bulb aren't seconds. What are these tricks? So the good news is, it's not too hard to understand these two. When you have your shutter speed set to time, and you click the shutter button, what happens is the shutter will open. And it will remain open until you click the shutter button again, which closes it right down. The bulb setting is almost exactly the same, except you have to keep your button down in order for the shutter to stay open. If you let go, it closes the shutter right back up. So far what we learned is that shutter speeds are measured in seconds, with most of them actually being fractions of a second. And I've talked about slow and fast shutter speeds, but what constitutes slow? What constitutes fast? Well, the closer you get to 1, the closer your fraction gets to 1, say 1/30, 1/25, 1/2, 1/1, which is 1, that's a slow shutter speed. And the further away the denominator gets from 1, that's a fast shutter speed. Remember, slow shutter speeds will get you bright pictures, while fast shutter speeds will get you dark ones. There's also this thing called the law of reciprocity, but that has to do with both aperture and shutter speed. So we'll cover that in a different video. It's gonna get messy. However, there's something else we will cover in this video, and that is motion in photography. So have you ever seen a picture like this? Or maybe one like this? Well, if you want to learn how to take those pictures, I'll make a separate video on how to do it. Right now, I just want to show you how shutter speeds affect motion and how motion gets translated into your pictures. So in photography, motion is translated into blurring. That's where motion blur comes from. How motion blur happens is when you shoot with a slow shutter speed, the shutter will open up, but the subject will have time to move before the shutter closes back down again. All that movement caught in that time frame is shown as blurring. So we know that the closer your fraction gets to 1, the slower your shutter speed, and the further away it gets from 1, the faster your shutter speed. But where is that border between slow and fast? Well, the general rule of thumb is that any shutter speed slower than 1/60 is considered a slow shutter speed, and anything faster than 1/60 is considered fast. So what ends up happening is that anything slower than 1/60 will pick up these small movements and turn them into blur, and anything faster than 1/60 won't. What ends up happening is that the slower your shutter speed, the more intense your motion is going to be. So something shot at 1/30 is going to have a lot less blurring than something shot at maybe 1/2. On the opposite end of the spectrum, when you increase your shutter speed to be faster, it allows you to capture even the fast moving objects in complete stillness. A quick tip I want to share with you guys is that when you're shooting handheld, you want to shoot at a shutter speed that's 1/60 or faster. That way, when you're making small movements with your hand, your camera won't pick it up as motion blurring, and you'll have a sharp picture. Right now I'm going to show you what happens when you shoot handheld with a slow shutter speed and with a fast shutter speed. So pay attention, because I'm going to do that by making some tea.
Come on, Gerald.
Okay, so right now I'm going to take a picture of this cup of tea with both a slow and a fast shutter speed. I want you guys to see what happens in the difference of both, so pay attention, alright?
What? It's good tea.
So shutter speeds don't only affect your lighting, they also affect motion in your pictures. When you shoot at a slower shutter speed, what happens is the small movements, or any movements in general, will be blurred out. And when you shoot in a fast shutter speed, you'll just see your pictures in the still frame. Also, a good thing to keep in mind is that when you're shooting handheld, shoot at a shutter speed that's 1/60 or faster. That way your shots won't be blurry and weird. And that's pretty much all you need to know for your basic understanding of shutter speed. Even though at a glance it seemed pretty difficult and intimidating, it's not that bad once you get to know it a little bit more. Now, get out there, take pictures, and if you don't like what you've got, go there and take more pictures. You're only gonna get better. I'll see you on the other side. Peace out.